Hi, everyone. This is Belle with Pop Culture Uncovered, and I am here with Allie. Say hi, Allie.
Hi, Allie.
And special guest, Mary, who we have mentioned on the podcast before. Hi, Mary. Our,
Hi.
our very own Idriza slash Velma, and we love her so much. She looks
The
so
highest compliment.
cute.
It's the highest compliment.
So we are going to drink and talk about WandaVision. So first of all, ladies, what are you drinking?
Vodka soda.
Vodka soda.
I'm
I've,
basic.
I've got East Ciders, some nice dry
Nice.
cider.
Nice. And I have a Scarlet Witch. I don't know what's in it. It's going to be a surprise.
Do you want to know?
We're
I
going to trust the
want to know,
process.
but I'm kind of scared.
Have you tasted
Alcohol?
Oh, that's
Maybe?
oh,
Yeah.
That's red wine, spiced rum, and strawberry infused simple syrup.
Did you hear that? Red
Oh.
wine, spiced rum, and strawberry infused simple syrup. This is real good.
That does sound good.
So, WandaVision has happened, and we have some thoughts. Yes. So I'm actually going to throw it to Allie because I feel like Allie's going to be the nicest. What did you love about the show?
What I loved about the show, so the filmography of it all, the nod to all the wonderful TV shows from the 50s and on, kind of a little background of what happened after the snap, like the second one when it was like, wait a minute, we're back. Like Monica's like, wait a minute, it's been so long. Like there's a little bit more of a, oh, okay. Like I liked some of the pieces that were put back into this puzzle. I liked having a show to watch every Friday. It kind of helped out with quarantine. I had something to look forward to. So that was really cool. The Scarlet Witch is an interesting, complex character. I know her a little bit, obviously, from X-Men. And having a show of her was, interesting. Obviously, we're going to be getting a lot more of the Avengers and their stories, et cetera, through Disney Plus. And I'm looking forward to that. I mean, she's not my favorite character. She's not really a hero. Like, she's not really a good guy, but she's an unfortunate, tormented soul and really freaking powerful. So, and very unstable because of a lot of crap she's had to deal with. So, I don't know. I think it could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but given the time constraints that they had, the episodes were short. For some reason, I think we all thought we were going to get a 90-minute episode because of that rumor that was being spread around. So I guess I was looking forward to a little bit more than that. But you know what? At this point, I'm going to take what I can get because I haven't been in a movie theater in over a year, and I need my stories. I need my stories. I need my superheroes. Since she isn't a superhero, but you know what we got? We got Monica. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's valid. That's 100% valid. Mary?
I was actually very excited to see Elizabeth Olsen show off her range because I'd heard of her before she was cast as Wanda, but I'd never actually seen her in anything. And so she kind of comes across as very one note in the movies, but she does have very powerful emotional scenes. So to get to see her show off her comedic range was really nice. She did such a great job. I really loved how the show handled grief and grieving and the process of it and the way that she describes it as waves just kind of crashing into you every so often. That is very real. Loved Catherine Hahn. She killed it and knocked it out of the park as Agatha. I should not love Agatha as much as I do, and that's entirely because of Catherine Hahn. Monica and Jimmy, I was so happy. I was so excited to see little Monica in Captain Marvel, and then when I heard we were getting adult Monica as an in this, I was even more excited. Because we all knew she was gonna get her powers somehow. They were alluding to it in Captain Marvel. So to see her get them but not have control of them, and to see where that's gonna go in the future, that's gonna be fun. And seeing Paul Bettany get to be more like himself.
Yes.
Mechanical as Vision.
Yes.
Doesn't really get to emote too much, so to get to see him have fun
range
with it was,
yeah.
Again, yeah, the range. They have the range. Was a lot of fun.
Yeah. For me, the performances were outstanding. Those first 6 episodes were just phenomenal. Just hands down. The honesty of grief. Just thinking about it gets me, like, tears me up a little bit. Because we've all been there. All 3 of us have had some hard losses recently at that.
Yeah.
And they captured it. They nailed it. Hands down. And there was no, and here's the performance-wise, there was no weak link. And here's the thing. I am, I guess, a rarity. I'm not a fan of Darcy Lewis.
No, me either. Me either.
Okay. I do not, I think she is completely superfluous. But I liked her on this. The same way I do not, Wanda Maximoff, I don't care about the character. I'm unlike, I guess, I'm much more aware of who Wanda is, both from comics and the movies, than most people. And so I've never liked Wanda. And mostly because, as a friend of mine, we were talking about online, it's because Wanda's mental illness is treated as either A, get out of jail card, or B, as a destroy everything and face no consequences card. And that is something that should happen in the House of M storyline.
Oh, yeah.
It's an entire storyline that we're still seeing the consequences of to this day in Marvel Comics, where Wanda never, ever faced any consequences, and Rogue and Cyclops were treated like the bad guys for being like, this bitch killed every mutant.
Yeah.
But 100 on Earth. And they were treated like they were being too harsh. And much like Jean Grey, and to a lesser extent Harley Quinn in DC Comics, their mental illness is treated as a get out of jail, as a, and I can't even say that because at least Harley does end up facing consequences in DC Comics. Harley goes to jail. She goes to jail for her shit. That's a whole other conversation about how Arkham is a revolving door, but we'll have a conversation about that at another time. But this series made me give a shit about Wanda. I still don't like that she was whitewashed, because I can count on my hand the number of Jewish characters in comic books that we have, and I can count on my other hand and have fingers left over the amount of Romani characters that we have, and they were Nightwing from DC Comics, Wanda, and Quicksilver. That's it. Those are the only Romani characters that we have in the entirety of comics in 70 years. So
they've all been whitewashed consistently.
Every single one of them, consistently. And so that's always been an issue for me. But damn if Elizabeth Olsen isn't good, y'all.
She
damn,
is.
that woman is good. I mean, I think I saw her in Godzilla. And I liked her in that.
Oh, she wasn't.
Funny to me that she and Aaron Taylor Johnson played spouses in Godzilla and then played brother and sister. And I was like, it was weird for me to see them.
I forgot about that entirely.
Because I was like, y'all were just all, and then again I was like, well, Ultimates happened, so
they have a weird incestuous relationship in the comics, kind of off and on too. So yeah, sure, once that works.
They were banging each other in the comics, so maybe it's not that weird.
No.
But she is so good. Paul Bettany was phenomenal. The cast is so good. The writing for the first 6 episodes is just so damn good that I almost wish they left it as a cliffhanger and came back for season 2 and wrapped it up for the next part and gave it more time to breathe. Like when COVID hit, because they had to stop filming the way they were originally filming because of COVID, which one of the things is like a little detail. I love that they filmed the first 4 episodes in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they filmed them in front of a live studio audience. And in the last 2 episodes, which were set in more modern times, are not. The last 2 of the 6 of the original 6 are not, because that's the Malcolm in the Middle and then the Modern Family episode.
Yeah.
And those are not. Those are filmed the same way those episodes were in real life. So I thought that was really smart of them to do it like that, which, you know, Paul Bettany was talking about how he was terrified because he'd never done anything like that before. And he was like, it's harder than theater. And I'm like, yeah, because unlike theater, you don't have to worry about where the cameras are. You know, in theater,
there's no falling cut to stop and start over.
Or remembering where you have to stop on stage without blocking the camera. There's all these other added elements because in front of a live studio audience is basically a combination of film and theater. And that's a lot harder to do. So I really enjoyed the writing. I really enjoyed the acting. Everybody just was so good. I really enjoyed how they are setting up the Young Avengers.
They are dropping so many hits for Young Avengers.
Especially knowing that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're getting Patriot. We're getting... I would be freaking shocked if Loki doesn't end with Lucas.
I would be very interested to see if Loki, Tom Hiddleston retires and we get like
Lucas,
little kid Loki.
Yeah, but we
already got Cassie Lang.
Yeah, we already got Cassie.
We're gonna have Miss Marvel.
We have Miss, although she's not a member of the original Young Avengers, she's a member of the Champions. Yeah. We have America Chavez is apparently going to be in Winter Soldier and Doctor Strange. So far we got Stature, Patriot, Wiccan, and Speed, who we know are still alive by the end of the show. We have Kate Bishop showing up in Hawkeye.
That's right.
We have the only ones we would be missing by the end of these 3 series is Novar and Hulkling.
Yeah.
They're the only ones because the Young Avengers are Patriot, Stature, Young Loki, America Chavez, Novar, Hulkling, Wiccan, and Speed. So I would be very interested to see because they had that denouement with Monica and the Kree and Hulkling. Where do Hulkling and Novar come from? The Kree and Skrull empires.
So maybe in Captain America too.
You mean Captain Marvel? Yeah.
Captain Marvel.
Yes. So they did a great job of subtly. One of the things that has always driven me crazy, and we were talking about this, I don't know what movie we're talking about it about, but, we were talking about it with this series. It felt like the last 3 episodes, they rushed it because they fell into the Iron Man 2 trap. We have to set up. But up until that point, they did so much subtle setting up of the Young Avengers that I feel like they could have given themselves the time. I almost wish they had just stopped production and been like, and end on the 6th episode and been like, next year, part 2. You know, like the book of Boba Fett.
Guessing like they had since episode 1.
Yeah, like the way they threw in the book of Boba Fett at the end of The Mandalorian this year. That would have been amazing. So, overall, I think we can all agree the first 6 episodes are phenomenal. And the acting is phenomenal all the way throughout. And the writing is phenomenal for the first 6 episodes. And we will get into what we did not like in part 2. Because we all have some things to say. I have so many concerns. So we talked about what we liked. Let's talk about what we don't like. So we're going to talk about the bad. Mary, I'll start with you.
Well, I know this is a very minor thing. In the grand scheme of the whole show, we never found out who Jimmy Woo's missing person was. Who was his missing person in witness protection?
You're so right.
We never found out who that was, and that bothers me on so many levels. I didn't really like how at the end, after all the time him and Darcy and Monica spent together throughout the first half of the show, there was like nothing. It was just one conversation with him and Monica. Darcy had taken off for some reason. We never got any real closure with them. What didn't I like? I mean, I didn't like Pietro, but that's just because out of all the Maximoff siblings, Pietro is my least favorite. So I don't particularly care about him. I thought, was he actually there? They were trying to convince us maybe he's from the multiverse, but Agatha just used him. Like, why not just look into Wanda's brain and, like, bring out Aaron Taylor Johnson? Why have that specific Pietro if it doesn't connect to the multiverse of madness somehow? How did she mimic his powers if she didn't know who Wanda was previously before that? There's a lot of plot holes that I'm not happy about. I mean, we'll get into the stuff with Wanda later that we don't like in a group discussion. One.
Why didn't have a chance? I'm so interested to have a chance.
I don't like, there's, like we said, the first 6 episodes were really good, and I don't know if it's just because of COVID got in the way, because, like, they've talked about it since, that there were all these dropped plot lines about how, like, it was going to be Wanda, Pietro, and the kids, like, stealing the Darkhold from Agatha's basement. There was supposed to be a giant demon. There was all these things that they couldn't do because of COVID. So I don't know if it's because of COVID that the last 2 to 3 episodes kind of, like, dipped, or if that was just how it was always going to be. But, like, there was a tonal shift.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because it went from being, like, this is WandaVision, filmed before a live studio audience, and then this is the MCU. That tonal shift and it just drops off was kind of a downer for me.
Yeah. For me, it was, and this is a little thing, the characters were all gray. There were shades of gray for every character. And then to make Hayward in the last 3 episodes a lunatic who was willing to shoot children.
Right.
And to make Agatha just a cackling demon who wanted Wanda's power, which was not anything that we had seen up until that point. Literally, she says, and that was the part for me, their writing for the last 3 episodes contradicted their writing for the first 6. I'm like, it's not even contradicting the MCU, which it did contradict the MCU because we know things happen with the Darkhold in both Doctor Strange and in Runaways. So they contradicted the actual canon that they have said the canon of the Runaways is a part of the MCU canon, and they threw that out the window.
And I heard recently they canceled all of that. Like for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Runaways, the Netflix shows, like they're no longer considered canon, like out of nowhere. Out of nowhere,
but when they wrote this show, that wasn't the case. And I'm like, so my brain, like, as somebody who, as you guys know, critiques and reads comic books on the regular, I'm just like, can't take this shit no more. Like, so that's the first thing. You literally threw out your canon from 2 other major plot points in Doctor Strange and the Runaways to make this happen. And like I said, one of my favorite things about the first 6 episodes is that Hayward is right. He's going about it the wrong way. Like, Hayward and Monica are both right. On the one hand, going in with a weapon of mass destruction to take Wanda out. The Scarlet Witch just hit me. So literally, I saw the minute my brain went.
Are you okay? To be taken off.
Ron did it again.
You don't want her to hit you.
But Ron is in the background laughing, and I wish you guys could see it. But the shades of gray. There was a scene that was in the 3rd or 4th episode where they had that big confrontation between Monica and Hayward, and they're both right. She is doing something, and he had tried to reason with her. He tried to have a conversation with her before she took Vision's body. And that's the other thing. There's plot points, speaking of plot points, and this is something Ron had pointed out. Either Hayward faked the footage of her taking Vision's body, or someone else was messing with Hayward's brain and making him think that she did it. Which
I
would have
think Hayward was just lying.
would have made more sense if they had it like that, but because we still don't know. We don't know. And I really like the fact that Hayward wasn't an asshole. Even according to Wanda's memories of him, he wasn't a dick to her.
No.
He was not an asshole to her. He was kind. He was kinder than, in all honesty, after the way she came in there, than he should have been. He was kind to her, and he had compassion for her. And in the last 3 episodes, that went out the door for cartoonish, mustache twirling villainy. Then there's the whole Agatha, where we see literally one of her lines is, "I tried to wake you up from this gently because I didn't know how it would affect these people." That's an actual line. So then to have her suddenly become a cackling villain who would take the kids and harm the children, and that goes nowhere, even though we know in comics that Billy and Tommy are physical manifestations of Mephisto. To have that go nowhere, and to have her do what she did to those kids for no apparent reason, it doesn't make sense. And it goes to what you're saying, Mary, about how much of this is COVID. Sometimes I wish, reminds me of the writer's strike and Heroes all over again.
Oh, God. Don't remind me of the writer's strike.
Sometimes it's better to stop production and tell the complete story, or until enough of your cast is vaccinated to tell the complete story, than to rush. I would have much preferred we get the first 6 episodes and an additional 6 episodes next year, and then end on a cliffhanger.
And tell a cohesive story, yeah.
Cohesive story. That was my biggest thing. It just pissed me off because the quality is just trash for the last 3 episodes. It's just exhaustingly bad. And I went in not assuming anything, because the MCU has juked me enough times with them trying to go in with canon. So I was not one of those people. I went in unspoiled, and I went in with no expectations. I didn't expect Nightmare. I didn't expect Mephisto. I didn't expect nothing. I was like, I'm taking it as it is. And they still managed to make me mad for the last 4 episodes.
So I'm not that angry, but so the Agatha storyline kind of got me. I kind of hoped they were gonna do a little something different with it, because of course, as some people know, Agatha was her teacher. I would have actually loved to have seen her be like, no, we need to get out of this.
You need to face your fears.
Yeah. We need to get out of this. And at one point I was like, oh, well, maybe because she's showing her traumas and what she's been through and trying to figure that out, maybe she's actually going to wind up helping, maybe. And then it just took a turn. I was like, well, they could have done so much. They could have done so much more with that. Yes, she could have become her teacher. I kind of understand why they rushed it, because the outside was rushing in on them. So she was like, I need to figure out what I can do. And I guess right now is going to be take her powers. But again, it would have sat a lot better if she would have been like, no, girl, we're getting out of here. I'm sorry, but the children and your hubby, they can't come because we got to leave this all behind. I don't like that she's, again, trapped there. Because Agatha is such an interesting character to begin with. And then a fabulous
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. It's ugly. But sorry, go ahead.
So they could have done so much more with that. Seeing Vision, the way everything happened with him. Um, it, I mean, I hate how they left it with us because I know we're all wondering right now, okay, where is he? Because this is now Vision. This is the body of Vision. This is the mind of Vision. And as he put it, he did not want to be brought back, and he was betrayed.
Yeah.
So shame on them, shame on her. There
Multiple times it was said throughout the series, Vision did not want to. They went against his will. They got on Pepper somehow.
Because Wanda just wanted to bury him.
Pepper and Tony wanted to bury him, and they took. So I want to know who got his body without Pepper knowing, because I can't see Pepper letting that shit go. No. Not the Pepper part we see in the MCU. There's no way in hell she would burn the world down because that's Tony's son. There's no way in the world that she would have allowed them to take his body. So how did they get his body in the first place?
So that, I think after everything, I think that is the most upsetting thing about it is that Vision is out there, and he knows he's Vision, and he now has all of his memories, and he's not happy. So we have two very powerful beings that are really pissed off right now.
And unstable. And highly unstable. Although, one of my favorite things was the Vision versus Vision scene.
That was such a Vision fight.
It was such a perfect fight of logic.
Of logic. Like, they're in a library and they're just floating and having a theological discussion. And I loved it. It was very Vision.
I almost wish... That scene is so honestly beautiful to me. Of all the scenes in the finale, that one is beautiful because how much of the world would be a better place if we changed our mind when we got new information?
Stop a lot of fighting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If you stopped shooting, stop hitting, stop bombing, and talk to the people who are on the other side of the aisle, the world, the country, whatever. If we had a conversation about why we're different and we actually reconcile those differences and realize that we're both people. That was one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire MCU, in my opinion.
What I really liked about that scene... I'm sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
It was just absolutely stunning. Go ahead.
Well, no, and that's what I liked about it. It was literally just about them stopping his directive of, like, you can't kill Wanda, you can't kill me, because I kind of am you, so, like, let's have a discussion about this. And they're just talking, and they're talking philosophy, and what I had to look it up later because I had no clue what they were talking about, because I'm a dummy. And they were talking about the ship of Theseus, and that's like one of the oldest metaphysical concepts, and it's based around how if you take something and you systematically replace every single part of it to the point that none of the original parts exist, is it still the same thing?
Yeah.
And White Vision says, no, it's not. So he gets the memories from Westview Vision. He has his body, but he apparently doesn't have the emotions or the context to go with those memories. So he just dips out.
And he has none of Jarvis.
How that's going to play out later. Because
he has none of Jarvis in him. Because he only has Westview Vision's memories. He doesn't have anything of Jarvis. So
I saw clips of Jarvis memories.
That I don't feel like they did, or maybe they did, but
it's because they're very Vision from Wanda's soul, I guess.
Yeah, because Wanda wouldn't have any Jarvis memories.
Sorry, Jarvis memories. I'm thinking like
remember,
Vision memories.
Vision is in the MCU, which there's a whole other conversation about that. But Vision is a product of Jarvis, who was created because Tony's parents were murdered, and so it was him trying to deal with his parents' murder, and the only person who was consistent in his life was Jarvis. So Vision was, when Jarvis died, Jarvis and Anna were the only consistent parental figures in his life after his parents' brutal deaths, which we find out later are murders, and that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. So Jarvis is the embodiment of all that love that Tony had for the one parent who was there with him from infancy until death. And so he doesn't have, this Vision has none of that. So I almost want to see, and we'll get into that later when we talk about what does this mean for the MCU. I kind of want to see Pepper react to Vision, because he is, for all intents and purposes, Tony's son. And to see Tony and Bruce's kids.
I want to see how Bruce reacts to White Vision, honestly.
Yeah, I think that will mess both of them but I can't trust the MCU. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, we can't.
How much do you want to bet, though? That's where he flew to.
Huh?
How much do you want to bet? That's where he flew to, though. That's like,
that would be a thing if he went to.
He is literally and technically hardwired there.
That's true. It would be but I don't trust the MCU.
See, I thought he might go to Wakanda just because, like, the last memory he gets from original Vision is like his death. So what if he goes there to try and find some answers?
Yeah.
And like Shuri's there, she was trying to do whatever it was, copy his memory, fix the mistakes.
Right.
In Infinity War.
Emotionally, who would he have most of a connection to would be Pepper and Morgan. So that would be amazing, Allie, if that. But I don't, because the MCU has a tendency to throw out previous canon when it's convenient.
Oh yeah.
I don't trust them to follow the emotional beats. They are, depending upon the writer and the movie, they are plot driven instead of character driven. Instead of letting the characters drive the story and then you build the plot around what the characters would react. Like, logically, it would make sense for him to either go to Wakanda or to go to Pepper and Morgan and be like, I don't know who I am, but you know who I was. Help me. That logically makes sense. But do we want logic or do we want pew, pew, pew? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have millions and millions of viewers that will say, we don't really want the pew, pew, pew.
Yeah,
because we went through so many episodes where that wasn't like the highlight.
Pretty much everyone I've talked to hated the last 3 episodes. There's a few exceptions, but pretty much across the board, everyone hated the last 3 episodes. So maybe we don't want the maybe you guys take this into account.
Like, are the fight scenes awesome? Are they fun to watch and something to look at? Yes, they're great, but
is there a character point for this happening?
When you put emphasis on that and lose the plot structure and the character building, what was the point? Why do we care now?
Yeah, exactly.
We have comic books, right? Like, not every frame in a comic book is pew pew pew. There's like the development, and I mean, I'm not saying that every single person that watches the TV shows and the movies reads the comic book. But there's a bulk of us that do, and not every single one is about that. Like, there's a reason we love our characters, is because guess what? You made them into characters.
Yeah.
Some of them took years to do so.
Yeah. And that, I think that's going to dovetail wonderfully into the ugly, which we have to talk about. There's so many layers of the ugly that we have to talk about, but I think we need to take a small break.
We gotta